All right. It's another episode of the RSL show. I'm Alex Napoles. He's Josh Clark, back from vacation. Josh, dude, how was it? How are you?
Oh, so good. I'm so glad to be home in a weird way, but also a little bit of sarcasm. No, vacation was great. Much needed 11 days away from home. Got to see some cool sights, some glaciers, some orcas, some whales, all the fun stuff. So yeah, didn't miss an RSL game, so that's what I'm most pleased about.
It's the best part. That's the best part. You were able to go out and you didn't miss any RSL action.
Yeah, we did the radio for the New England game,
Yeah.
and then I left the next morning, so it was just perfect timing.
There you go, man. There you go.
Yeah.
Last week, if you missed it, we had Jake Simons on, and he gave a really excellent breakdown of kind of his thoughts of Real Salt Lake. So if you guys didn't hear that yet, go over, listen to last week's episode. Jake Simons, a lot of interesting insight filled in for Josh. So big shout out to Jake, big shout out to Josh for being back, and happy to be here doing another episode of the RSL show, even though there's really not much to talk about as far as RSL goes.
There's really not, and if you've been around for a while, you know that my least favorite episode is a preview episode. So
yeah,
I'm very happy to be here.
But it's a good preview.
Is it though?
I think it is, because it's a tough match.
It's a horrendously tough match. It's Houston has turned into the team that you just don't want to play. They're a kryptonite. I'd even say going into the year before, if I remember correctly, like they've had our number for a while.
That 3-2 earlier this year at home, where Real Salt Lake were able to win, I think kind of gave me a little bit of false confidence because, Oh man, that Leagues Cup game was rough.
It was brutal. It was put me out of my misery type game.
And I think personally, to make matters worse, I think Houston's coming into this one with a little bit of confidence after not only drawing LAFC 0-0, but also beating LAFC 2-0. That two back-to-back games. One of them was a win, one of them was a draw. Able to steal points from LAFC, which is good news in turn for Real Salt Lake, but also bad news because now Houston might be coming in with a little bit of swagger, a little bit of confidence after those results.
And they've been hot on our heels, already. So it just sucks. And it's away from home, which add another layer in. It's really hard to not be pessimistic about this Houston game going into it. I mean, it's just not going to be a good time. And I hope I'm wrong, but pessimistic Josh is preparing for a long night.
I think a lot of it comes down to, as well, does Chicho play or not?
I mean, at this point in the season, he has to play, man. He's got to, right? That crazy goal-scoring streak, setting the record for RSL, the Golden Boot race, just slipping so far away now, and we really need him, right? We need those Chicho minutes. So if Chicho misses a couple more games, like you're almost in the just wrap the season up, mentality.
let's get to the playoffs ASAP.
Right. Like just wrap this up. Let's call it good. We just can't afford to be Chicho-less.
It feels like we've kind of gone at this point 6 matches straight without Chicho Arango over the course of the last 3 months.
Yeah, it's been a Chicho-less 3 months essentially. We got him for
it's weird,
30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, but it's really sucked for RSL. And at the beginning of the season, when I said when Chicho was eventually out for a long stretch of time, it's going to suck, and here we are.
But nobody could have predicted that suspension.
Not the suspension, but he was eventually going to pick up some kind of soft tissue injury.
Sure,
especially with the load we were putting on him. Right, things were bound to happen. He's not a saint on the field, right? Like you can expect yellow card accumulation out of him. Like there were so many factors, that could keep him out of a game. But I wasn't expecting to lose him for essentially 3 months. Like it sucked.
It's a little weird that, he started off the season so hot, so strong, and he is still just one goal away from breaking the season record, right?
Right. But how are you, like, there's still plenty of time for him to do it if he plays. But right now I'm like, is it going to happen? Right.
Yeah.
The faith from me for it happening is dwindling.
Which is a complete contrast to kind of where we were 3 months ago.
100% when we were talking about, is he in a rut?
Yeah.
And I'm not calling this a rut. This is just simply him not playing. You know what I mean? And he was kind of in a mini rut leading into it, but we need him on the field. That is really all there is to it. We need Chicho Arango on the field if we're going to be winning games, especially with Andres Gomez being gone, right?
I miss a healthy Chicho, man. There's just no other way to put it. He's incredibly vital to this squad, and I miss him, man. It's weird that we're having this conversation after the high-flying start that he's been having all year long. Now we've gone 3 months with basically not really seeing Chicho Arango.
Right, and 3 months without your captain and your leading goal scorer, that's a tough pill for any team to swallow.
It's also weird that it's only been 6 games in that 3-month span.
Right, and thankfully that Leagues Cup break was there, right? But
right.
we might have seen him more had that break not been there.
Yeah,
because the suspension would have been over, and maybe he doesn't get that injury. But man, any day now, I would really like to see him back on the field. Any day now, please.
So you were doing radio last game. You were up in the booth with Spencer Warren, and
unfortunately, yep.
And I believe Mitch was there too.
He was there hanging out. Yeah, he was too afraid of the mic.
I didn't know this. But apparently Brian Vera has also picked up a knock.
Yeah, his neck.
What can you tell us about that, Josh?
I don't know a lot about it. As far as I'm aware, it's just like a strain picked up in training. But after that, I'm clueless. So I'm hoping it's something that's gone by now. But man, Philip Quinton stepping in for him in the New England game was frightening, right? And now the thought of that potentially continuing is very frightening.
Yes.
Especially against Houston.
You bring up a very good point because we talked about this a little bit last week, but I also want to hear it from you and get your take about it. Javane Brown.
Oh, stud.
Is he our right back?
At 100%. Already, there's no argument. He is the new right back. He's gritty, he's strong, he's fast, he can pass the ball. A bit of Catranis-esque in the, enforcer instigator role. He's incredible. Like the fact that we picked him up for free, that is a grand theft auto, right? It's insane.
He looked incredible. He looked really good. Definitely, I think, in just the one match that we saw him performed better than Andrew Brody.
But it's not even the same conversation.
Yeah. It's crazy how much he came in, looked really, really good, and now I'm kind of sold on him being the starting right back.
No, there's zero negative reason for Andrew Brody to start over him, and it's a really hard argument to argue for Bodie Hidalgo over Javane Brown. It's not even a conversation for me. That's like saying, do you want Elijah Paul or Chicho Arango starting? Right? It's not even a conversation.
But what's up with Nelson Palacio? He's listed as injured.
I've heard it's a knee thing, but I could be very wrong.
So it is true.
Yeah, but that's not anything I've heard from the team per se, officially.
Okay.
So I could be totally wrong here, and we could be getting a correction message, but it does appear that Nelson Palacio is injured. So
we're also not counting on Nelson coming up on Saturday.
Right.
Okay.
But you still have Ojeda, you still have Anelli. The midfield pieces I'm not super worried about.
Yes, that one is a little bit less concerning because, as you mentioned, we have Anelli, we have Ojeda, and those are two, and Matt Crooks. Those are three perfectly solid options.
Yeah, perfectly capable. Right, Nelson Palacio isn't a solid starter. He's a great bench player for now. He could 100% be a solid starter one day, but I would be much more concerned if we were missing Ojeda or Anelli.
But now with Vera out and the conversation turning to potentially starting Javane Brown at right back and kind of taking that role going forward, that leaves us in the same spot that we were prior to the window where, hey, we need some center backs.
Right, but Marcelo Silva.
Marcelo Silva is healthy. He's coming back. Does he have a full 90 in him at this point?
Probably not, and I was really hoping he would get at least 30 during our last match versus New England. So not getting that sucks because, that's match fitness minutes. But honestly, at this point, let him play 60 and hope for the best and make an adjustment there. I know Philip Quinton scored the goal on last 2 Saturdays ago, but he's such a liability in the back right now. It's painful. New England had so many chances to capitalize on his lack of ability to play the ball out from the back under pressure and just silly mistakes that Houston's going to punish him and going to punish us. Much like Eric Holt, it's nothing against the player or the person. It's nothing against the person, but in my humble fan opinion, I don't think they're up to snuff to keep this RSL team, headed in the right direction. I was really trying to figure out a nice way to say that without saying we suck, right? Like,
yeah. And it's a valid concern. It's a valid concern because even I say whenever Quinton's on the ball, it scares me.
Oh, it's equivalent to someone playing the ball back to McMath under pressure.
Yeah.
But that's just with him with the ball at his feet, right? That's not even under pressure. It's just anytime he gets the ball, I'm petrified.
Because, we've talked about it before. We've seen it before. He's put our goalkeepers in some not so fun situations.
Right. Some real predicaments.
Some bad giveaways, bad back passes that led directly to opportunities. It's not what you, from a team that likes to play out of the back and likes to distribute out of the back with their center backs. It's not something that you want to see.
It's not his skill set. It just doesn't work.
But give him credit for the goal.
Yeah, took a sweet deflection.
Thank you, Spencer, for scoring.
Spencer. I was so afraid of calling him that on the radio. No one's going to understand that I'm, pretty dumb because they don't listen to the RSL show. But I managed to not.
Good. It's an inside joke. Only people who listen to the RSL show will understand.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they just all know that Josh isn't the sharpest tack in the room, and it's okay. It's accepted. I accept it. My mom accepts it. It's really okay.
Taking a look at Houston now. Hey, some good news. Franco Escobar suspended. Yellow card accumulation should not be available against Real Salt Lake.
It's fine. They can have as many unavailable as they want, but it doesn't seem to matter who's playing for Houston against RSL. Someone will step up and punish us.
I like Franco Escobar being suspended because he is a pest, man. He is a thorn in the side. I don't like playing against him. I don't like seeing him in the lineup. He's just one of those guys. Yep. He's good. He's a good defender. He'll shut out your top players. He's really good on the ball. He gets under players' skins.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those guys. I don't like seeing him on the lineup, and I'm glad he's suspended.
Same, but I also wish Griffin Dorsey was suspended. I wish Steve Clark was suspended.
Well, we can't even talk about Steve Clark like that anymore because Andrew Tarbell over here in Leagues Cup looked like Superman.
Can we just get Houston a pool goalkeeper that will probably end up getting sold to Barcelona after he plays against us?
Either keeper, either matchup in goalie, whether it's Steve Clark, whether it's Tarbell, I'm scared to face him now.
Right. Well, it's just, Houston's not better than RSL.
No, I refuse to believe it.
There's just something, like there's always that team. Every team has this team, right? That for a certain amount of time, Colorado is a prime example against RSL. You just go a chunk of time where you just can't get past them, right? They just have the perfect complement of player to face your player, even if they may not be better. As a group, as a mentality, they have your number. And it probably is a little bit of RSL's fault, right? Because they've allowed Houston to have our number mentally, right? Which makes it hard to overcome that hump and beat them.
Whatever needs to be done through the remainder of this week to lift that curse It needs to be done ASAP.
Yeah, anyone with a Corey Baird jersey, go outside, burn it, and maybe that'll release all of the bad karma and energy that he, for some reason, has brought to Houston to make it impossible for RSL to win.
Or a Tate Schmidt jersey.
I have one. I don't want to burn it.
Tate Schmidt is still on that roster.
Yeah, but Tate Schmidt has never been obnoxious towards RSL.
But he's still he's still a former RSL man.
Sure, but like there's plenty of those. I'm not going to go burn a Dami jersey. You know what I mean?
But I know, but we don't have bad juju against Vancouver. It's just
but if we did,
if we did, we're having a whole different conversation.
Right. But here, let's have that conversation. If we couldn't beat Damir Kreilach in Vancouver,
I think we might have to do some juju lifting.
But he's beloved, so we couldn't do it. Whereas we all hate Corey Baird.
We do all hate Corey Baird, but
so it's easier.
I don't know, man.
But see, with the Damir curse, we can at least Damir Kreilach is good.
Is it possible to hate Dummy? Even if he were to score a hat trick on Real Lake.
No, I would still clap for him. And
that would be the nail in the coffin, right? To knock us out of the playoffs, to eliminate us in the regular season, right? It's the last game at AFF. Damir Kreilach comes in, scores a hat trick. Real Lake are out of the playoffs for some weird, crazy reason.
If we get to the point where we're not going to make the playoffs the rest of the season, the entire tone of all of this entire season is changing and everyone's getting fired. I don't care.
Oh, man. This is not where I expected this conversation to go today. But here
Me neither, but I like it. I like the direction, Alex.
Houston, whatever Real Lake needs to do to get past Houston, I will take it. We burn that Corey Baird jersey, go bury a duck at America First Field. Whatever we have to do, because if we lose 3-0 to Houston again, I'm going to lose it.
Yeah, I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
I threaten to cry a lot, don't I?
Yeah, we've still yet to see it.
It happens. I just, sit in the shower and do it.
We got to do it on the podcast sometime, just to show Real.
No one wants to listen to that.
Just to show Real Lake that we know we care.
That they do really give me gray hair and make me sad.
Hey, so Real Lake didn't play this past weekend, but there was other MLS games that happened this weekend through the international break. Some teams with games in hands finally trying to catch up on the schedule. It started with, how about Albert Rusnak getting a hat trick against Columbus in the most craziest of fashion because their goalkeeper before the halftime break got sent off and they didn't have a keeper on the bench. So who steps up? Their midfielder.
Yeah. That's a failure on MLS's side. I'm pretty sure I've read that, they asked for a pool keeper, all this stuff, and they were denied, which is absolutely crazy to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And, there's MLS Next Pro teams with a bunch of goalkeepers, and they didn't allow them to call them up either.
Yeah, it's unreal. Crazier thing, Albert Rusnak's already 30 and a free agent again at the end of this season.
He is, yes.
Where do you think he lands?
That's a great question.
Do you think he sticks around in Seattle at 30? Because I think Seattle is bound for a younger rebuild, right? They have 3 30 or older free agents in essentially DP spots into the season. There's no way he comes back to RSL.
No.
Nor do we want him here.
I could see it going one of two ways. I think Albert Rusnak either signs an extension for 1 or 2 years and kind of helps bridge the rebuild, right? And then after those 2 years, they say, hey, thank you for your service. Or 1 or 2 years, they say, thank you for your service, but it's time to move on. Or scenario number 2, he's out of MLS by the end of his contract this year.
Interesting. I'm gonna go one further and just solidify the fan base's hatred. He's gonna sign for SKC.
Okay. No, okay, I like it. He truly would be the number 1 villain.
Yeah. There's any goodwill that may have come back his way, just evaporates. It would be insane.
I mean, he's still got it. He's having a pretty good season with Seattle. Obviously, he gets the hat trick against Columbus. Maybe, like I said, a weird situation, but he still led Seattle to that 4-0 loss. He's still having a pretty solid season. I could see, like I said, Seattle saying, "Hey, we'll keep you around for 1 or 2 years, help us through this rebuild, and then we'll call it good."
But is Rusnak the type of player willing to do that?
If the money's right.
I don't know. But how much do you pay a 30-year-old aging DP, right? Like,
Well, I think DP's off the table for Rusnak.
exactly, but like, is he going to accept that?
I don't know. That's a good question.
It's a very curious situation, and I'm actually kind of excited to watch how that unfolds.
Other controversy and weird stuff happening in the league this weekend. There was a lot of weird controversies this weekend, even though it was a shortened week. New England and St. Louis is drawing 2-2. Caleb Porter has officially lost it.
Yeah. Oh, he was. You could see during that game, the New England game here, he looked like a guy that had no answers. He looked frustrated, and this past weekend just kind of pushed him over the edge.
Yeah. Did you see his post-game comments while you were out?
I did not. I just saw that he was suspended for his comments.
He's fined and suspended for his comments. A lot of heavy criticism towards the referee. Basically, to kind of sum it up, he said it's a complete joke, it's a travesty, and there needs to be some accountability for those decisions because we just lost 2 points because of that decision. Not sure what the decision is. I need to go back and watch it. But regardless, we have literally had that same thing happen to us 3 different times where the officials have been sent to the monitor and there's a clear penalty and the official doesn't call it. What is happening? It is mind-boggling. I've never seen anything like it. The referee was a complete coward in that moment. Complete coward. And it's a travesty.
Wow. He's a step short of Petke in it, man.
Oh, he went off the rails and the league did not like it. He got a hefty fine and he got a nice suspension to go along with it.
I mean, with the track record of the league as a coach, and I know we kind of support it when our coaches kind of go off the rails and we feel it's deserved, but what did you expect was going to happen?
You don't come out and call the refs cowards in your post-game presser.
Even if they are, you don't do it.
Even if they are, even if that, a missed penalty that you felt was a clearly missed penalty, you just can't do it. You just can't do it because you got your $20,000 fine and you're suspended for the next game.
Yeah.
So
sucks to suck.
New England 2-2 against St. Louis. The New York Red Bulls draw with Sporting KC 1-1. DC United with the 2-1 win over Chicago. Christian Benteke finally takes over at the top of the Golden Boot race against Chicho Arango with 18 goals.
Back to the comment about Chicho, losing ground. It's incredible that he isn't out of the picture with the pace that they were all scoring at.
That's what Jake said last week too.
Yeah, so it's crazy that it's still not out of the question for Chicho to pull it back.
Leagues Cup obviously helps out a little bit, right? You
Sure.
go a month without MLS play, but still, like, Christian Benteke has had weeks to eclipse Chicho, take the top of the Golden Boot race, and it just barely happened.
Yep. So, in a sense, I'm happy that, there's still a chance.
Houston with a 0-0 draw against LAFC, and then the Vancouver Whitecaps drawing with FC Dallas. That means that at the top of the West remain the LA Galaxy with 52 points, LAFC in second with 48, Real Salt Lake in third with 47, in fourth Colorado with 44, fifth Seattle with 43, Vancouver in sixth with 42, Houston in seventh with 41, Portland in eighth with 40, and in ninth place Minnesota with 36.
Isn't it just obnoxious how every year Seattle looks like they're going to be bad at the beginning of the year, but without fail, every year they're back in playoff contention. Every year.
And then every year it seems like, the top 3 teams are pulling away and starting to separate themselves and just making it a 3-horse race at the top. But now LAFC and Real Salt Lake are closer to 9th place than they were to first, basically eclipsing first since before the Leagues Cup break.
Man, these 3 points in Houston,
huge.
Not getting them is going to hurt.
Oh, yeah. Not getting them is going to hurt because you allow the opportunity for Colorado to tie things up and basically jump you in the table.
Mm-hmm.
And you're allowing Seattle, if they win as well, to just be a point behind you.
Yeah, it's
scary.
This slump we're in is painful because it doesn't make sense. You know?
It really doesn't.
It's all self-inflicted.
Yeah.
It is all self-inflicted, and that's the most frustrating part.
That San Jose loss is looking really tough now.
Yep. There's always one every year, one or two that, the Colorado earlier this season, that late winter, San Jose, like there's a couple that, LA away, Galaxy away.
Yeah. Losing points there.
Yeah. It's just crazy how just a couple, small points here and there really at the end of the season come into play.
And now we're seeing it. Like I said, Rouse Lake is very, very close. Is a lot closer for comfort to that 9th and 8th place spot than they are to potentially competing for that first place spot. And I mean, it's not completely out of the picture, right? They still have a game in hand on the LA Galaxy. They have they don't have a game in hand. LAFC has a game in hand on Real Salt Lake, but the Seattle Sounders have a game in hand on Real Salt Lake as well. So I mean, once those game in hands really begin to catch up and everything starts to take shape, we'll see where, Real Salt Lake really falls. But the top 3 spot, man, I think that's the goal, and I think they need to stick with it.
And it's already looking concerning that we won't even hit that. So, yeah. I don't know, man. Salty Josh is quickly approaching, my friend.
It's going to be a very fun and very interesting finale to this 2024 MLS season. Coming up this week, as far as Western Conference matches go, we'll have Austin FC taking on Toronto. We'll have the Houston Dynamo taking on Real Salt Lake. We'll have St. Louis taking on Minnesota. Colorado taking on Portland. LA Galaxy taking on LAFC. Huge implications there in El Tráfico.
Hopefully there's like a -1 draw. No, like realistically though, a 0-0 draw and a couple red cards is the best we can hope for.
Vancouver taking on San Jose, and the Seattle Sounders taking on Sporting KC on Sunday. We'll be back, of course, next week to recap everything that happens in Houston, as well as everything that happens around the league as we hit the fun part, the final stretch of the 2024 MLS season. Where will Real Salt Lake finish? Do they get a home game? Do they fall? Who wins El Tráfico this weekend? So many questions, so much soccer left. Josh, anything else you want to add before we wrap this one up?
No, sir. I'm going to keep my mouth shut the rest of this time before I say something stupid.
And so with that, we'll conclude today's episode of the RSL Show. Josh, hey, thanks for coming back, man. Thanks for being back, and thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, I thought about quitting, just disappearing forever, but I'm back, so don't worry about that.
There was a little bit of concern that you were going to hang out there and wouldn't come back.
Yeah, Victoria, Canada, man, beautiful. Could have happened.
Happy to have you back. Thank you guys so much for always tuning in, for listening, and for supporting the RSL Show on the KSL Sports Network. Go follow us on Twitter. Go follow us on Instagram. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go do what you got to do to follow us for the best Real Salt Lake content here on the KSL Sports Network.